Today on the program, the future of Citroën, Opel, and Alfa Romeo is very uncertain. Peugeot unveils a preview of the upcoming 608 and 8008. The Denza Z has the design of a Maserati, the brutality of a Lamborghini, and the price of a Dacia. And finally, we'll talk about the resurrection of a name that has made its mark on automotive history. Before we start this video, Shifter Octane is now available on all podcast platforms. From Apple Podcasts to Spotify, including Deezer, you'll find all the links below the video, in the description, and in the pinned comment. Let's talk about a sprawling, bloated empire that woke up with a 22.3 billion euro hangover. Yes, 22.3 billion. In losses in 2025, that's the kind of hole in the finances that makes you reconsider your life choices, or in the case of Stellantis, your choices about which brands to save. Not so long ago, during the Carlos Tavares era, Stellantis was a big family of 14 brands. We were promised that every brand, from the modest Fiat to the prestigious Maserati, had a bright future ahead to conquer the world. It was as beautiful as a political speech and about as realistic. But now, Tavares has packed his bags, leaving the keys to Antonio Filosa. And Filosa clearly isn't here to be sentimental. On May 21st in Detroit, he will present his big strategic plan. And according to leaks, it's going to be brutal. Filosa has decided that only 4 brands in the group deserve investments: Jeep, Ram, Peugeot, and Fiat. Why them? Because they're the only ones that really bring money home. Jeep and Ram are making big profits in North America. Peugeot is steady in Europe, and Fiat is exporting many affordable small cars globally. These 4 will receive most of the investments and dictate the technological future of the group. And the other 10, that's where it gets embarrassing. Take Citroën, Opel, and Alfa Romeo. They used to be legends. Today, relegated to the second division, they're not going to die, no, but they'll have to settle for the leftovers. They'll take the chassis and engines developed for Jeep, Ram, Peugeot, or Fiat. They'll just put a new badge on them to keep up appearances. But the worst is for the others, the so-called regional brands. Lancia, which managed the feat of selling fewer than 12,000 cars in 2025. DS Automobiles, whose purpose is still unclear. And Maserati, the Trident, is in free fall with sales dropping by 17% in Europe and 37% in the United States. How can anyone imagine for a second that a Maserati, supposedly competing with Porsche, could be cobbled together on a Peugeot or Jeep platform? In short, the group is cornered. Chinese competitors are closing in, the electric market is risky, and stock value has melted away like snow. And Stellantis finally admitted what everyone already knew. You can't feed 14 mouths when the fridge is empty. The future will tell us if this strict diet will save the group, or if it will only prolong the agony of the brands that made automotive history. See you on May 21 for the verdict. Then, the Beijing Motor Show is in full swing, and among the 1,500 vehicles on display, a French manufacturer has decided to stir things up. Peugeot, yes, the lion from Sochaux, is back in China, and they didn't come empty-handed. They brought 2 concept cars that made a big splash, Concept 6 and Concept 8. So Peugeot wants to win back China, and to make a statement, they've brought out the heavy artillery. Let's start with Concept 6. Forget everything you know about traditional sedans. It's a shooting brake with a sloping roofline and an aggressive front end. It features a new lighting signature with 3 thin horizontal claws and a backlit logo. It's low, it's sleek, it's spectacular. So, is this Concept 6, the future 608, a large premium sedan capable of competing with the German brands? The number 6 wasn't chosen at random. It's an obvious nod to the brand's history, but with a decidedly modern and electric ambition. But Peugeot knows you can't conquer the world with station wagons. That's why they've also unveiled the Concept 8, a large SUV, a very large SUV. It's massive, imposing, with a look reminiscent of a Range Rover that swallowed a 5008. And yet, it would be positioned 3 levels above the current 5008, so we're potentially talking about a future 8008. So the burning question on everyone's mind, will we see these wonders on our European roads? Well, yes and no, but mostly no. These cars are designed in China, for China. They will be produced in Wuhan in partnership with Dongfeng. Yes, Dongfeng. Dongfeng, the Chinese manufacturer that helped save PSA from bankruptcy in 2012. A surprising choice, since Stellantis is now very close to Hipmotor. Peugeot promises that these models will be exported to international markets, but Europe is clearly not the priority. And that's the paradox of this announcement. Peugeot is making our mouths water with an impressive design, but behind these lines it's a complete void. No images of the interior, no technical specifications. We just know that it will be electric or maybe a plug-in hybrid with a range extender, which is very popular in China. That being said, Peugeot has shown that it still knows how to design cars. Now it just has to prove that it can still sell them in the most ruthless market in the world. Now imagine a car with the design of a Maserati, the power of a Lamborghini, and that costs, well, almost the price of a well-equipped Dacia Duster. Here is the Denza Z. Denza is the luxury division of BYD, the Chinese giant that is taking over the automotive world. At the Beijing Auto Show, they unveiled this electric roadster, and honestly, you have to admit it's beautiful. And for good reason, the design is by Wolfgang Eger. And if that name sounds familiar, it's normal. He's the former head of design at Audi and Alfa Romeo. Basically, this gentleman knows how to design a car. It has flowing lines, perfect proportions, and in this Florentine green finish presented in Beijing, it screams Maserati at the top of its lungs. It's a sleek GTE that makes you want to drive along the coast with the wind in your hair. But don't be fooled by its killer smile. Beneath that haute couture bodywork is an absolute monster. 3 electric motors, over 1,000 horsepower. Denza claims a 0 to 100 in under 2 seconds. That's about the time it takes you to blink and realize your internal organs have just been pressed against your spine. To keep this rocket stable, they've loaded it with tech, including an active electromagnetic suspension that adjusts every 10 milliseconds. Steering and braking are entirely by wire. That means there's no mechanical connection at all. Everything is electronic. But the final blow, the knockout punch that's going to make the competition cry, is the price. In China, this marvel is estimated between 400,000 and 500,000 yuan. That's about $58,000 to $70,000, or just over 50,000 euros. 50,000 euros for 1,000 horsepower and a supercar design. At that price here, you get a compact hybrid SUV with a few options. So yes, when it arrives in Europe, because it will arrive in Europe, they promised it for the Goodwood Festival in July, the price will go up with taxes and import fees. We're talking about 110,000 euros. But even at that price, it's still a massive bargain compared to the European competition. And finally, let's talk about a resurrection, but not just any resurrection. The resurrection of a name that left its mark on British automotive history. A name that fell off the radar in 2015 after being sold in more than 500,000 units. I'm talking about the Land Rover Freelander. Well, believe it or not, this legendary Freelander is back. But before you get out your rubber boots and tweed jacket to go pheasant hunting in the English countryside, sit down, because the new Freelander is English only in name. Yes, the legendary British 4X4 has been reincarnated as a huge Chinese electric SUV. Here is the Freelander 8, the result of a joint venture between Jaguar, Land Rover, and the Chinese giant Chery. This behemoth was just unveiled at the Beijing Auto Show. We're talking about a vehicle that's nearly 5 meters long and 2 meters wide. Visually, it's interesting. It's heavily inspired by the Concept 97 that was presented a few weeks ago. You find that massive look, those widened wheel arches, and that famous slanted rear pillar, a subtle nod to the 3-door Freelander from back in the day. But the traditional grille has disappeared, replaced by a smooth front end flanked by intriguing square headlights. And on the roof, there's a technological bump, a LiDAR sensor. Because yes, this Freelander is packed with chips, especially the Huawei ADS 5.0 system, which is supposed to provide it with advanced semi-autonomous driving and even read the terrain in off-road mode. Under the hood, forget about the good old diesel engine that used to spit out black smoke at startup. The Freelander 8 is built on an entirely new platform. It will be offered as a fully electric version, a plug-in hybrid, or with a range extender. But the real question is, Who is this Freelander 8 made for? Initially, it is tailor-made for the Chinese market, which loves these large, prestigious SUVs. It will be launched there in the second half of this year. But make no mistake, the ambition is global. The brand's CEO, Wenfei, has stated it loud and clear. They don't want to export a Chinese car, they want to build a global car. So, will we see it on our European roads? Probably. Chery plans to import it by 2027 or 2028, with versions adapted to our markets, maybe even with this feature. In summary, the Freelander has traded its British passport for a Chinese visa, its combustion engine for powerful batteries, and its mud for algorithms. It's bold. It remains to be seen if the purists will forgive it for this identity crisis. Thank you all for watching this new video. Don't hesitate to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. See you